Howdy, we're back. All right, so now that we have learned a lot of the basics, we're going to start using, adding in some other functions and functionality that you've probably used a lot before in, basic math and Excel. And now we're going to be able to do things where we're going to pull data and then also do a multiplication on top of that, and it'll just shoot out the answer. So it'll be like an Excel sheet on crack because it'll have all the information. You'll pull it out, do the function, you'll get your answer all in one little query. Yeah. So to start off, what we're going to do is we are going to take this query from the last Brain Buster, and then we're going to add a little fanciness on it to find out some more information. So what we want to do.
So I'm your boss. I'm how much I know some movies have been rented out a lot, and that's the most popular movie, but which movie has made us the most money?
Okay. That's really important. You always need to know what's driving your revenue. And so the way we can do this is we have the information about, for each title, how many times has it been rented out. But what else are we going to need to put in there to tell us how much revenue we've earned? And so let's see, revenue, let's add a little note here, revenue per video title. Okay. So what we can do, what is revenue? Let's just start in the most basic thing. Revenue is price times quantity sold. So it's what price are we selling it at and how many units have been sold. So what we need to do is price times, let's say number of rentals. That will be revenue equals price times number of rentals. And so what we can add that formula into our select clause. And so what we're going to want to do is we can do this, and the price of each movie, if we go into film, is the rental rate, correct? So if we want to do rental, we can do f dot rental rate, and this is going to be revenue. So we can actually call it that.
Ooh, what is that? What's the as?
So this is a way of naming the results in the select clause. So instead of having this be the column name, we can make it easier to read by naming it revenue. And instead of having to say f dot title, we can say as. So there's two ways. If it's one word, you can just type it out. If it's multiple words with spaces, you got to add quotes. So we can do it like that. And so that column will be called film title.
Yep.
And so when you're sharing this information, this will be a really great way to do it, because then you can show it to your boss and it's easy for him to read. You'll look a little bit more professional. It'll be good. And just to make it a little bit more clear, what's happening in this function, let's add these two more tables. So let's go count r.rental ID to see how many times it's been rented, and the f.rental rate. And this way we can just visualize exactly what's happening.
Ooh, showing your work.
Exactly. And so you definitely don't need to do this if you're, next time you do it. But for this time, this will just be a really good way to visualize what's going on. So let's come in here to the query home, paste this in, run it. And okay, this is great. So we see Academy Dinosaur. It's been rented 23 times at a rate of 99 cents per rental. And so we've made $22.77 from those, or we've had that in revenue.
And just to point out again, the column headings, since we named it with the as function, or the as, whatever you call that thing, there's revenue and film title.
Yes, exactly. So it gets replaced here. We didn't name this one, so it still says rental ID, count.rental ID. And this is rental rate. We could do this. And we'll run this again. And now it all looks very nice. Ooh. Okay. But so this is the first use of arithmetic in this within a SQL clause. So that's going to be really, really interesting. So
wait, so then the question I initially asked you was which movie has given us the most revenue? Can you show me how to do that through SQL and not through SQL Pro, not cheating and sorting by that?
Yeah, definitely. So, to David's point and your boss's point, it's okay, cool, I have all this information, but I also have 958 titles here that have made money. And I have to sit through here and, look. I'm oh, this looks like the most. It has 144. Oh, no, this has more. That's not going to be efficient. You haven't really done anything yet. And so a way that we can we can get this functionality to occur automatically. So we want to know that Bucket Brotherhood has raised the most revenue, but we had to use this little cheat. So what we can do is group by one, and then we're going to introduce a new clause here called order by. So pretty much what this is, it's just filtering, and you can use it the same way as we do for group by. So we want to order by the revenue, which was the 1, 2, 3, 4th item in the select clause. So order by 4, and let's run that and see what happens. Okay, so as you see, it goes from least to greatest.
Yep.
The way you can change this, so this is in, you can say ascending order. We want to make it descending. So you'd add this term DESC, and now when we run it again, we get the highest number first going down to the smallest revenue. And so now this is a really good, interesting, useful piece of data where we can say Bucket Brotherhood is our highest grossing money making. So we gotta push that thing. We gotta get extra copies of it so people can rent it at all times. And maybe we go down here, or like Freedom Cleopatra. Oof. Yeesh. Let's get rid of those extra 20 copies we have and just cut that down to like 1 copy because no one wants to rent it.
Exactly.
So this will be really good for inventory. But yeah, so these are 2 really good additional pieces of information. So let's remember this piece of arithmetic and then the order by clause. Let me know if you have any questions about that. And what else do we want to do? Okay, so next thing we're going to show you, let's go back to Sublime Text, and we're going to show you one more piece of really useful and really common a mathematical function.
Yep.
It's called this little thing called sum.
Sum. S-U-M, not S-O-M-E. I'm sure you knew that.
Here you go. See? It's a function. It turns to turquoise. It's going to be really helpful. Okay, so what do we want to do for sum, David?
Yeah, so let's figure out. So sum is useful when you want to know how many items have been sold, how many new users total we have, or you just want to keep a running total of any number you want to track. And so for us, let's figure out who our best customer is and see how much they've paid us in the past.
Let's see. What customer has paid us the most money?
Yep.
This is really important, obviously, because you want to know who your power users are. Because maybe you want to reach out to them to ask about, feature improvements, like what do they like, what do they not like about our rental business or whatever your product would be.
Maybe give a thank you card to improve loyalty.
Yeah, and another thing is you want to make sure you have liquidity in your marketplace. This is something we can talk about later, but especially for us at Udemy, it's really important. Like we don't want to have it so that one customer is driving 95% of our revenue. We want it to be spread out equally. So we want to have like a lot of customers paying money. So this is a good way to test this. So let's write this quick query from where group by. We're going to need an order by as well. Okay, so what table are we going to look at? So we want to know who's paid the most money. So the payment table would be a good place to look. So we have customer ID. We have the amount that they paid. Okay, so just a little background on this table. This is every payment that we've ever received. So even though that's like customer number 1's made a ton of different payments, each of those payments has its own row on this table.
Good.
Yeah, so that's one thing you got to look out for, and we really want to. So this is just like a case where it's like a lot. Some of these have a lot of the same information, but slight variations, and that will create a new row. Okay, so what information do we want from this table? We want the customer ID because we want to know who is making the purchase, and we want to know the amount. So how much did they pay us? Okay, so let's first payment. Nickname that P. So what we want to do is we want to select the customer ID. Correct?
Yep.
And then we want to use our new sum function. So we want to sum the P dot amount. So we want to count up all the amounts that have to do with this customer in the payment table. We don't have a where clause for this because we don't want it to limit anything. We want it to just give us all the payments. We want to group by the first one, so we want to group by the customer, but we want to order by to. So we want to have the customer who's paid the most at the top. So we want to order by to descending.
And you might be confused with sum and count, and you might have been thinking, why don't we use count? But if we use count, that would just tell us how many times he's made a payment.
Exactly.
Not necessarily how much money we received from that. Because each payment transaction that he gives us will be a different amount, and we want to sum those amounts together.
Exactly.
And you can't use count for that.
Yeah, so if you've done anything in Excel, it's the same logic. Counting is literally just counting how many
Times it occurs.
counting individual things. Summing is adding together all those amounts.
The values, exactly.
Okay, so let's bring this together, run it. Boom, there we go. So customer 52926. I get my eyes checked. So let's just go take a look at that customer.
Who's our loyal customer?
We haven't introduced this. This is pretty cool about SQL Pro.
I don't know the little cheat hack kind of.
So if you just want to do a quick lookup of an individual person, you can type in, you can choose the column name. So for this customer ID, 526, and this will just tell us that Carl Seal is this person, and you can see their customer information. So
Thank you,
if you
Carl
want,
Seal.
Yeah, Carl, you're a great movie watcher.
Number one.
But yeah, so I think that'll be it for this lecture. But let's give you a little brain buster.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so your boss is at it again. He's barking down your neck, breathing down your neck, something like that. He's being annoying.
He's just on you. He's just all over you.
Okay, so your boss wants you to run an analysis to see what store has historically brought in the most revenue. So this will be a little bit similar to this example that we just showed, but it'll be slightly different. And good luck. It's going to be combining several of the different ideas and features that we've done in the past.
All right, see ya on the other side.
Boom, ba, boom, bum, ba.